the hell wants to talk about Pilgrim? Pilgrim what? Pilgrim IEMs. Let's talk about the Elysian Pilgrim IEM. Hey, welcome back to Thrift Shop. Today, well, first of all, get a cup of Joe, grab your balls, get them in the right location, and let's talk about some good shit, right? Let's talk about the Pilgrim, Elysian Pilgrim IEM. If you're new to Elysian, they are, I believe, a company out of Singapore. They are what I would call a boutique manufacturer, typically over $1,000. They have released the Pilgrim here for $400, which is amazing entry point to get into Elysian. I think this is great. This is what these kind of boutique brands have to do to break in and do great things. And it should be noted, this is not your typical chi-fi kind of brand that's coming in using the cheap imitation balanced armatures out of China. These are using higher end, brand name, balanced armatures and components. And well, we just got to talk about it. So I have these beauties right here. Absolutely stunning. I'm going to drop in some pictures because it's better than me popping up my hands in the screen and you guys think I'm messing around with my hands all the time. You type A personalities, you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, this thing is a beautiful cable. I love this silver cable here. Absolutely great. These IEMs are just, so you're getting metal housing. Should talk about it. Metal housing here. It is not, I would say it's a kind of standard shape. It is not semi-custom. There is a little bit of shape, but not a lot. It is semi-open back. The connectors are Pentagon, so it's not MMCX. It's a very close cousin. And it's better. It's cool. The ear hooks are pretty tight. Wish they weren't so tight. I don't have a problem. It doesn't hurt. Pretty good. You don't have a lot of insertion depth here, so you're going to have to pay attention and try to get ear tips that work. What does come with these are spin fits, so you're getting some pretty cool spin fit silicon tips here. You're not getting a large assortment, and for $400 for this kind of brand, I think that's kind of understandable. We do need to talk about the unboxing here, and I'm going to pop up a video because this was really, I mean, no shitting you, this was a pain in the absolute ass to get this out. So you got to see, make no compromises. So that was the kind of, yeah, they made some compromises here. But basically, to get out this really nice case here was virtually impossible. And I'm sure other people post videos up here, but I could not get this thing out. It took everything I had to get this out. And then to get the IEMs out individually, basically out of this, it was virtually impossible. There was no room to pull them out. When I did finally get it, I popped this one out across the room. I was putting so much pressure. So I think, you know, Elysian, you need to work on that because this is your first path. And hopefully you fixed your next path because you had some compromises. Anyways, why would I go this direction? I bought this with my own money. I can say what the hell I want. It doesn't really matter. There's no bullshitting you when it comes to talking about this. And I like Elysian. Actually, if you go into the body of into any of my videos, you'll see that the Gaia is my #1 IEM. I absolutely love it. I listened to it. That's all I did. I have not owned it. I've listened to the Diva and I've listened to the Gaia and absolutely love the Gaia. So I already knew that I liked where the brand was going. So when they came out with the $400 IEM, I jumped all over it, bought it with my own money and didn't want to look back. But even before going there, I knew that the sound signature, I'm going to try to pop up a frequency response graph up there. And I knew that it was very similar to basically the Awful Performer 8. Now, typically before this, I would say it was more Harmonish. So once I heard the Awful Performer 8, which is right here, I kind of fell in love. And these things are absolutely beautiful. These are around $369, so they're basically in the same ballpark, although when it does come to the Chi-Fi sales, you're probably going to get this for around $299. So it is typically based on the sales, you're going to get $100 cheaper. Otherwise, it's going to be about $40 cheaper. I had to do some dumb math in my head. Anyways, so I knew that I liked that sound signature, more of a neutral sound signature. It may, for many, seem boring or more too reference sounding, but the amount of detail that I get out of the Awful Performer 8 is astounding. It's just another way of hearing the music, and I feel that the Harman curve for me, the vocal presence, basically doesn't, it masks the amount of information that is within that general area, and it doesn't feel detailed enough. So there's enough treble energy with how these vocals are presented to you that makes you feel like it's a detail hound, basically. So if you're after every iota of detail within the music, these are great. Listening to the Elysian, the first thing that I felt is that, well, number one, that a little bit of a problem, because it took a lot more power to drive these, because these are, I believe, 8 ohm impedance and 101 dB. Don't quote me on that, I'm going off of memory. So while the 101 dB sensitivity is not horrible, a lot of IEMs are in, let's say, the 125 range, just to be general. So you're already down 25 dB. So it's going to take a lot more power to get there. And being 8 ohm impedance means that anything in the chain of what you're listening to can change the frequency response, right? The closer you get to 0, the more influence you can change the sound signature, and it is actually harder to drive for whatever is driving it. Basically, as you get closer to 0, it's closer to a short circuit, and therefore is harder on your equipment. Most of the devices that we have, especially DAPs or things like that, are built off of kind of 16 to 32 ohms. So as you get closer to 8 ohms, and then you have to pay attention to the output impedance of the device you're listening to. And there's a rule of thumb of whether it be 8 times or 10 times the amount of the output impedance. Otherwise, it's just going to sound like shit, right? So it's on the verge of being too low. So if Elysian, if you're listening, if you ever watch my video, who knows, if you do, drop a comment. But make the impedance higher so that you're not reliant on even the cable that you connect it to may have enough impedance to change the sound signature. So putting that aside, these are harder to drive. So when you're plugging things in and out, it's harder to say, yes, I've got this match volume where one doesn't sound better than the other just because the volume is louder, right? So, but the first thing that I noticed is that it's smooth. I mean, this thing is smooth, and there are 2 factors in this. Number one, I've been using the Hibi R4 here. Currently, get this thing back on. But this is a smooth, warm, not neutral, and not even close to being neutral sounding. And these are smooth. So it wasn't a good match just because of the sound signature and the sound signature that I wanted from these. I'm not saying that they don't sound good on here. It's just not to evaluate the IEM. It just wasn't giving me the sound signature that I wanted. Now using my IFI Pro Ican here, it has IE match. So it changes the resistive nature of the headphone amp. That way it makes it sound better. But it also kind of, I've had IEMs where it didn't sound that good using it because of that fact. So when you have a high power amplifier, there's a large chance that the output impedance is going to be higher, and therefore you want to use IE match with whenever possible, especially with IFI. They do a great job with that. So you can run your Hi-Fi Man 6SE off of this, and then you can also run, an IEM. So great way of listening. Running through the Schiit Bifrost 264 here, my main DAC. I just felt that in general, the Pilgrim is smoother than the Awful Performer 8. Sorry about that. Had to swallow, might need a drink of water. while you're guzzling down your cup of coffee, I might need something myself. But otherwise, it's a great listen. The Pilgrim does not have as much treble energy as the Awful Performer 8, so it doesn't give you the greatest sense of air. Now, this is going to be a personal thing that you have, that whether one sounds better than the other. I do believe the Pilgrim is the better of the two. It is smoother, it's effortless, and its sound signature, they feel both about as wide. And I think they're both amazing, but the Elysian, given the metal housing and the smoother drivers, is a better IEM in general. It's just going to be a matter of what you want. I do feel that after listening to both of them back to back, the Awful Performer 8 obviously probably has cheaper drivers in there, given that you have 8 balanced armatures in each, and if you had to buy the real expensive BAs, the real price of this may be up to $1,000. So it itself, maybe not given the frequency response, but given the driver's kind of etchy nature, gives you the sense of detail. And even though they may be tuned very, very similar to each other, there are differences. And which one would you like is going to be purely up to you. If you're listening to maybe the Hibi R4, you may like the Awful Performer 8 because it's going to smooth out some of that over-etched sound that you get from it and just make it more pleasant. And if you have something that's a detail monster like the Schiit Bifrost 264 DAC going through some ultra high-end amplifier, you run it through the Pilgrim and you're just going to have this basically sit back, chill, relax kind of sound. It's neutral. You could do mixing and mastering of music with these IEMs. They are that clean, they're not that colored, and it's great. Now, given that Elysian is this high-end brand, boutique brand, typically when you get, let's say, over $1,000 and you get into some more boutique brands, you're getting into esoteric kind of sound signature, something different. And I think that's what I've liked about Elysian and Gaia. The Gaia is just full of energy, full of charisma, right? And the Diva is just a vocal monster. And I just feel like this is somewhat flat. Now, maybe it is $400. Maybe they wanted to appeal to the masses. I don't know. I think in general, it's going to be well received. I think that even though they have the new Noir coming out with maybe a slight, to some, maybe a better frequency response, I'm not sure. But I think in general, it's going to be well received. I think that one of the cool things that I found is using the Hibi R4 here, basically with the PEQ settings and squig.link, I can take the Pilgrim and I converted it using the PEQ filters to sound like the Diva. I made it sound like the Annihilator. I made it sound like the Gaia. And I even made it sound like the Moondrop Variations. Now, does it sound exactly like the Annihilator? No. Does it sound exactly like the Diva? No. There are a lot of other factors going into there, but it does give you an indication of where the sound signature is of the Annihilator, the Gaia, or the Diva 2023. So this is a really cool way of buying one thing and doing something else. I have not tried to do it with the Awful Performer 8. I just thought I'd have some fun within the Elysian family and with Moondrop Variation to see how different I could make these sound through the Hibi R4. And go check out my review of the Hibi R4. Not sure which one of these I'll have released first, but absolutely, I am amazed with the Pilgrim. I should have mentioned this in the beginning. You probably noticed I did buy the 3.5 cable here, and I have the 4.4 cable here. I think it's kind of crazy for this price, even though this is a very nice cable that doesn't have interchangeable ends. At this time, in 2024, you should be able to, they should send you 3 adapters, or at least 2, 4.4 and 3.5, and you can just plug and switch off. But given the fact that if you buy this, that you can get the option to get both cables, I think it's $400, $399.99 just to buy the IEM, and it was another $29 to get the additional cable. And I figure having 2 cables and buying one for $29, well, that's cheap. It's cheap for an IEM cable of this quality. So that's all I got to say. You know, if you like this shit and you want to hear some more, please just, you know, like, subscribe. Stop bullcrapping around with your A-type personality. I'll see you later. Peace.